What is socialization? Socialization is the act of mixing a group together to learn how to communicate and behave in an environment. Where does this begin? It begins at home with the family. Family teaches children how to walk, talk, behave, manners, and even at times discipline. Where some children thrive in the classroom because of good family environments, others are not so lucky because of the poor family environment. Poverty is a huge factor and problem for children in America. Currently, the rate of American children that live in poverty is more than 20%. The fact is that children in poverty are more likely to struggle with education. Many are linking single-family homes with the high poverty rates. Studies have shown that children in a household with always married parents have better cognitive, emotional, and educational outcomes. What is the possible reason? A two-parent household has more income and more parenting time, therefore resulting in more time and attention spent on the child. So how should a teacher deal with students from a single-parent family? There are a few steps that researchers have suggested. To name a few, assign school counselors to children that may need the extra help to succeed. Provide appropriate help for the students if or when needed. When creating a curriculum, be sure to not only show families with two parents, but include families that have one parent to show that the child is not alone. Make sure to send a duplicate copy of all the paperwork to the non-custodial parent. Work with agencies that are providing the before and after care for the child, any way that can make it a little easier for the child. Other major socializing institutions. Cohabitation increased. Since the 1970s, cohabiting households increased more than 10 times. By the year 2012, households with cohabiting couples was about 25%. Latchkey children, which are children who have no supervision at home after school, is a huge problem. With no supervision, children tend to spend more time on electronics or outside alone in areas that might not be safe for young children. This is an unfortunate reality for millions of children. In an attempt to help provide some supervision for these children, it has led to many after-school programs, activities at community centers. Children who are referred to as hurried or overparented are usually pressured to excel from an early age, sometimes as young as infancy. This is most common in middle-class families. Because these families and classrooms are in such a rush to create little geniuses, they can actually cause harm in the process. This process oftentimes steals the children's youth and takes away their chance at just being a kid. An overindulged child is provided with too many material goods that may prevent emotional growth. This is affecting as many as 20% of children in America. These children are also called cornucopia kids and can have social problems. Child abuse happens in many different households regardless of social class. As a teacher, it is your responsibility to notify proper authorities if abuse is expected. Nearly 1 million children are abused a year. Abuse is not only physical, or not always physical. Children are often neglected and have minimal, if any, food, clothing, or medical treatment. As many as 1/7 neglected children are also sexually abused, and about a quarter suffer from physical violence. Children that are abused and/or neglected tend to suffer in emotional, intellectual, and social development. The trauma and effect from child abuse or neglect can lead to drug and alcohol problems later in life, as well as criminal activity and learning disorders. It is the job of the teacher to recognize and understand when a child is being mistreated. That child may have a difficult time paying attention and learning, as well as interfering with other students' learning. The Children's Television Workshop and the National Education Association have found ways to help teachers deal with children who are in these situations. Homeless children often suffer from not only child abuse, but also from poor health and low attendance. The government hasn't done much to help these children, but many school districts are doing what they can. The schools often hire extra counselors, create after-school programs, coordinate with shelters to help out. In 2013, the National Center on Family Homelessness reported that nationally there were more than 2.5 million homeless children. Nuclear family. What is that? That phrase refers to a family that both mom and dad living with the children. This is a highly sought after goal for families, and it is centered around the children. David Papino has been examining family trends and has stated that we are creating post-nuclear families. Post-nuclear families are focused on individualism, what makes myself happy, self-expressions, things like that, as opposed to the child-centered family. He stated that parents are no longer needing children in economic terms, yet children still need their parents. Besides getting the family socialization, children need socialization with their peers. It has been found that in schools, the students got more attention from peers if they are popular, athletic, or attractive, or even things as having a nice car. instead of gaining popularity because of grades and educational goals. This is becoming a concern for schools. When asked what the best thing about the school was, the popular answer amongst high school students was their friends. When asked who they considered popular, the students responded by choosing kids who were attractive, athletic, instead of smart. Students favor their interaction with their peers in extracurricular activities. It is proven that students that are in extracurricular activities often have better grades. The extracurricular activities are important because educators can encourage and help students to participate. Educators cannot do much to help the student's home life. Bullying is an unfortunate thing in schools. Many schools have started to create and enforce policies to prevent or shut down bullying. These policies also include cyberbullying for computers and phones. Statistically, bullies are male, but female bullies are rising. A concern about bullies is that they will turn to criminal activity as adults. Teacher expectations for student roles. The pupil role, the receptive leader role, and the active learner role. The pupil role is when the teacher expects students to behave. The receptive is when students are motivated, and the active learner is when the students go above and beyond and master the content. It has been found that teachers often reject the active learners due to their independence. And in most elementary classrooms, the focus is on preventing disturbances, placing what is called the obedient pupil role. Did you know the average 8th grade student spends more than 3 times as much on electronics than homework? Not only does TV and electronics negatively impact school success, but it influences their socialization with their peers. It has been brought up that TV and video games and social media can encourage aggressive behavior. With video games and movies, the disturbing acts of crime, like murder, many children as young as elementary age have seen much more than a child should. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Psychological Association, repeat exposure to these violent games and shows promotes violent behavior in children. Another major issue with media is what it's teaching young girls. Because sex sells and it is plastered all over TV, teen pregnancy is high. It is also damaging their self-esteem and self-image. Not all TV and media is bad. There are many shows and programs that help encourage learning and positive behavior, such as Sesame Street. Some other negative effects from social media and the internet: multiple distractions, not being able to stay focused, low self-esteem due to unrealistic expectations in the media. A positive from social media is that technology provides many opportunities. Technology is everywhere, and if we teach our children a safe and positive way to use it, it can be beneficial. What are gender roles? Gender roles are expected behavior based on gender. Some examples are boys shouldn't play with dolls and girls shouldn't do any rough activities. These roles vary by culture. According to Robert Havikhurst, the difference in boys and girls can be noticed by 3 years of age. Boys tend to be more athletic, while girls tend to be more dependent and nurturing. Because teachers try and suppress aggressive behavior in reward for passive behavior, boys are found to have higher rates of alienation. Throughout history, it is shown that women were taught to become teachers, social workers, and nurses, as opposed to careers in law and high-paying occupations. Boys were encouraged to be athletic, giving them more opportunities for leadership roles. Girls were expected to become cooperative and docile. If girls choose to learn skills along with the boys, they were generally looked at as violating the gender of a female. It is known that throughout history, women and men did not receive the same schooling. Women completed less schooling than men. That seemed to change in 1979. Women outnumbered men and freshmen in college. By the time 1992 came around, women had received more than half of the awarded master's and bachelor's degrees. And currently, women are leading with almost 60% of enrollment in college and universities. Women have also changed their occupational status in the fields of accountants, lawyers, and earning doctoral degrees. The percentage for accountants went from 15% to over 50%, and 4% of lawyers to now 34%. And women are earning more doctorates than men. Although this is a huge accomplishment for women, there is still much more that needs to be accomplished. Many women are still stuck in low-paying, low-status jobs. So what do researchers suggest to increase educational opportunities for women? Some examples are to increase teacher training dealing with gender issues, gender-fair curriculum, special programs geared to encourage girls to participate in math, computing, and science programs, which are typically geared to boys, to help boost girls' self-esteem and expose girls to different areas in science and math to specialize in. There is a concern for the status of future working-class men and low-skilled middle-class men. Many men are looking for work in dwindling manual labor jobs. Inflation causes wages to fall for men. For men who did not attend college, unemployment rates increased. Due to low marriage rates for working class men, they have become absent fathers, with child support deducted from paychecks. National efforts to address the plight of men have been put into complicated programs. These programs involve on-the-job training, family support, and accelerated job creation. In many non-industrialized cultures, after a person goes through puberty, they are considered an adult. There is no in-between stage, just child to adult. But in modern society, adulthood is pushed back and farther, and people go through adolescence. This is resulting in isolating from the rest of society, leaning towards other issues. Some issues are drugs and drinking, suicide, teen pregnancy, delinquency, and violence. These events have a negative impact on schools. When adolescents go through these issues, they bring them to school with them. Alcohol and drugs are all over schools, and vandalism and violence on school grounds is huge. Due to these rising problems, schools have started to put and bring in more counselors, social workers, and other social service personnel. Schools are starting to improve the schools-wide discipline, conflict-solving skills, peer mediation, and more. With these new and improved policies in place, we can hope to see less of these issues and more positive outcomes in schools.